Hi everyone, my name is Sandra Ingerman and I'm a teacher of shamanism, and I've been teaching shamanism since 1983. So I'm going on 40 years, and I got introduced to the practice of shamanism formally in 1980. But that's not where my story begins. My story actually begins back in Brooklyn, New York. Imagine a little kid playing in Brooklyn, New York, and the spirits go, well, it looks like this person has a destiny to be in service to other people on the planet. And so when I was 7 years old, I got hit by lightning. I also had an experience where I got the measles, such a bad case of the measles, that it looked like I was going to go blind. And so I had to actually be blinded for a few weeks in order to heal. And being blinded is also a sign of a shaman, because part of the initiation, oftentimes in some cultures, is to actually put something over the initiate's eyes so that the third eye, the strong eye, we call it the strong eye in shamanism, wakes up and gives that person, that child, that person, the ability to access the spiritual realms and bring through the healing and bring through their clairvoyant abilities in order to be a leader in their community. So I started off at a young age being first hit by lightning, which is a sign of a shaman, feeling I was blinded, which is another sign of initiation, and the list goes on. And since I only have a short amount of time, I'm not going to share all my initiations with you, but I can say that the spirits have been polishing my soul for 40 years. and so it's just been an honor for me to be able to bring this work to people, because the information, the guidance, the healing that comes in when we allow the spirits to merge with us and be allies for us and work with us in behalf of others and in our lives, it's really quite extraordinary, the miracles that happen. And we're seeing a lot of them today, even amidst all the challenges that so many of us are facing on the planet right now. Amidst the darkness that people are walking through, there's an amazing amount of light, an amazing amount of good things that's happening for people. And if I was going to say, what is one shamanic practice that is really changing people's lives right now? You read on Facebook, you look on the news, and you even see this in the news, and you see this in magazines, and lots of YouTubes coming out on our connection with nature. Um, and so, for me and for anybody who's listening, who's been a real shamanic teacher or a student, an initiate for many, many years, or even new to the work, we've all figured out that the magic is in our connection with nature. But the collective that we're part of is still all of a sudden waking up to, we are not alone here, and there are other beings that have consciousness. And this is the new thing that's being written about, which is so amazing. How trees have consciousness, how plants actually make certain sounds when they're not getting enough water or when they're getting too much water. All of a sudden we're opening up out our eyes and living out from a 3D world to, all of a sudden we have this entire landscape of nature and nature beings who all make up this incredible web of life, this incredible web of life, and we all add an energetic signature to that web of life. So we work together. Every living being works together, and if we do it in harmony, we work together to live on this planet that's so beautiful, but is being damaged right now from how human beings are acting towards our precious being, Mother Earth, and all the elements that give us life. And so what I'd like to just do a little meditation with you just to kind of start, and then we'll jump back into our conversation about the elements, because nature is becoming the big topic right now. That's all I'm reading everywhere. And I love nature. Growing up in Brooklyn, I couldn't believe how beautiful the earth was and the colors and everything. I was so in love with nature that I understand how I got so involved in my shamanic work, because the shamanic work is all about our relationship with the natural world. That is what shamanism is about. And so just to begin, let's close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and just imagine a place in nature that you really love, and let yourself put your consciousness there. And as you put your consciousness there, feel an inner smile start to fill up your inner landscape. The wonderful thing about working with nature is we understand that we're nature, and we have this inner landscape that is actually a reflection of the landscape of nature around us. So I do a lot of work on seeing my body filled up with roses and foods that I love and textures that I love, so that I have an inner world as beautiful as my outer world. And so as you experience that, you also have an inner world that is a reflection out of your outer world. And think about what you love, the textures you love, the visuals you love, and just hold that state of love as we start to go back to when you were born. And just imagine yourself being a little speck of light, looking down on this great planet Earth. How beautiful it is. It has so many vibrant colors. Colors I don't get to see as a spirit. As a spirit, I don't get to feel, I don't get to touch, I don't get to smell, I don't get to taste. And I saw this amazing planet Earth filled with beautiful waterways, beautiful flowers and trees and sand and oceans and all kinds of nature beings. And I said, I want to go there and I want to experience this great earth filled with so much nature and so much beauty. And so you enter into your mother's womb. And in your mother's womb, you're held by the spirit of water. Who was with you during that 9 months while you were growing inside your mother's womb? It was the spirit of water who held you, who comforted you, who helped transport the food that you needed. And then, at exactly the right time, as nature always knows the right time. Water broke, and you came out, and the first nature being that you met was air. For your life began with your very first breath, and air was who welcomed you into the world. We always think about the people who welcomed us into the world, but think about the elements that welcomed us into the world. Water moved us into the world. Air welcomed us into the world. The earth welcomed us as she held us so gently as a new precious being was born onto this great earth. And then we meet the power of the sun as we go out into the world, and the power of the sun that brings us all the energy that we need to live. And we live our lives connecting with nature in ways that we are not even conscious about, because our connection with nature is every minute. It's not just on those occasions when you go out and take a walk in a park. We are nature, and everything around us is nature. And so we live our lives, and we grow to an age, and our soul says it's time to leave this great earth. And the last being who says goodbye to us, we say goodbye to so many precious beings in our life, but the last being who says goodbye to us is the element air. So air welcomed us here, and air also transports us to the transcendent realms, where we return to be a spiritual being once again, a spirit of light without a body. And so if your eyes are closed, you can open them up. I just wanted to take a moment for us to appreciate and honor the elements who really came together in such an alchemical fashion as we were growing into the being that was going to come onto this earth. The elements helped us do that. And what a lot of us don't think about is that we are the elements. We are, our body is actually earth, our air, our breath is air, our spirit is fire, our blood is water. And so we actually are the elements. And so if we look at the esoteric principle, as within, so without, if we look at that particular principle, we are just a mirror of everything that we're seeing in the outside world. So we're always in relationship with the elements all the time. We are the elements, and the elements are part of us. And so here we are. This summit is, I'm recording this in 2023. And here we are looking at a lot of climate change issues, and everybody's going, well, how do we heal the climate? What do we do to heal the climate? And from a shamanic point of view, really what we need to do to heal the environment is to honor it. And so one of the things that I read about 2 years ago was that human beings are species lonely. And if you think about that, we really are species lonely. We communicate with ourselves, we communicate with our animals, but how much do we communicate with the sun, with the sky, with the wind, with the water, with the earth? In indigenous cultures, they were friends, they were allies, they were family, and they still are to all of us. They are our family. And so in indigenous cultures, the shamans were always doing ceremonies, working with the elements to create harmony within the community and within the climate so that everybody could live a good life. And in our culture, there seems to be this really big miss And I know that none of us can understand it, but I've been talking about it for 20 years. Isn't it amazing that we put chemicals into the air, we put chemicals into the water, we put chemicals into the earth, and we don't understand why we're having pollution and why we're having problems with the climate? And it's amazing because we think of ourselves as the most intelligent being on the planet. But when you think about a race of being, a species of being that consciously puts pollutants into the water that they drink, puts pollutants into the food that they eat, and puts pollutants into the air that they take in, we really have to think about our level of intelligence, don't we? And I know in Europe and in other places right now, rivers are drying up. And what would happen? I wonder what would happen if we all went out to the waters of the world and we started to do ceremonies to honor water, not to ask water for anything, just to honor it. So in shamanism, we know that there's the principle of reciprocity. This is a very big part of shamanism, is the principle of reciprocity, that what you give gratitude for will give gratitude back to you. So are we seeing the levels of drought, the levels of flood, the levels of cold, the levels of heat, fires, volcanoes, earthquakes? Would we be seeing this if everybody in the world, and yes, I'm a big dreamer and I will hold that dream, I'm happy holding that dream. If everybody in the world went out every day and from their heart, from that place that we started at, where I asked you to really think about something that touched your heart on a feeling level, if we all went out, not on a superficial level, but with our heart really expanded, and we gave thanks to earth, air, water, fire as the sun, and fire within the earth, would we be experiencing the issues that we're having today? And I believe that we wouldn't, because I believe in the principle of reciprocity. And I believe if we did more conscious work and we didn't just either rely on science or bash science, you know, we're pretty divided on that. Either people worship science and say, scientists say, or people are always saying, no, my path is a spiritual path and science has no place in this path for me. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're thinking about. You can use your intuition. You can use just your everyday thought process to really understand what that means to honor something, and then to feel honor coming back. And there's a story that I heard a few years ago, and it was in a Native American community in the United States, or it might have been in Canada. I can't exactly remember, but it was either in the United States or Canada. And this Native woman was living in a village where there was going to be this incredible flood. And she had such a love affair with water. I mean, I'm trying to get you to have a love affair with the elements. And she did. She had such a love affair with water. And she just went out and she said to water, would you just do me a favor? And would you be willing, don't stop your flood, but don't destroy our village? And when the flood came, the water moved so that it didn't touch the village. Now, this is not manipulation. Manipulation would have been if this elder would have gone out, never having a connection with water, and doing ceremonies to try and force water or bake water, or, you know, to try and make something happen. She didn't do that. She had a deep love, reciprocal relationship with an element, just like you would have with a friend. So if you wanted to come to my house and I said, I have a lot of people coming over and I'm sorry, we have to pick another date, you would respect that because we're friends and you love me and you want to respect my needs. But the elements do the same thing with us. And so if we would just bring more love into our work with the elements, I think that we would see a change, a planetary change. Of course, there is the process of evolution, and we can't control what the Earth wants to do in changing how she looks. And that's been going on for thousands of years. But we can change what humankind is doing. And we can do it through the spiritual practices that we work with. And we can do it through shining our light, our spiritual light out into the elements. We can do it by singing to the elements, singing your love to the elements, just stating your love to the elements, just giving thanks to the elements. And there's a wonderful practice that you can also incorporate into your life that works with the elements too. And I like to teach this because it's a strong practice that really helps people who haven't done a lot of spiritual work before to really open up their vision to be able to receive the guidance from the elements that are our true allies. They're true allies in life. They help to bring us here. They love us. And so they are true allies for us. And so there's an exercise that you can do. You can pick your favorite element and you can go out and sit with a question that you have, and you can allow that element to bring guidance into your life. And so just some examples of this is you can climb up. You can imagine yourself, or actually physically do this. I think it's always better to physically do these things. You can climb up to top of a ledge somewhere where you can see a really long distance. You know how our sight can become so short-sighted sometimes. So sometimes when we can just go out and let our vision expand and expand over the landscapes, all of a sudden we can start receiving. We're not contracted anymore. When we contract, that gives us an amazing power once we expand. And so when we go out and sit where we can look with the eyes of an eagle, that allows our spirit to expand so that we can embrace, incorporate, and to integrate new information into our lives. And you can do that with water. I know that in my own life, I remember back when I was a lot younger, back in the 60s, and I was still doing psychedelics. And I was very upset about the political situation in the world. And I would go backpacking and with friends, and I would take LSD, and I would sit with a river for 8 hours a day. And by the time that day was over, listening to that river singing and taking all my negative thoughts away as the river would go, I would just feel so restored and feel so nurtured. And so being with water is such a healing thing that we can do for ourselves, finding a body of water that you can sit at. And again, it's the same kind of principle. At first, your energy might contract a little bit. But again, if you can think of contraction as what happens before you expand. And so, you sit down and you're not really sure of your surroundings, and all of a sudden you look around and you're struck by the beauty, and this expansion comes in, and again, you start to receive this information. With fire, people for hundreds and thousands of years have been staring at fire to get messages. That's a classic shamanic practice, is to sit and stare at a fire, or sit and stare at a candle, the flame of a candle. And again, first a contraction comes in as you get used to your new experience. And then that expansion happens, and you start getting flooded with healing information from fire about your life. And then with air, you can take a walk in nature, and you can start to feel the wind blowing on your hair. And when we think about air being the very first living being that ever was on the earth, and that it's billions of years old, and that you have this living being that touched your hair, or touched your cheek, or touched your hand in some way, all of a sudden, again, you start with a contraction, and then all of a sudden you expand to, I just got a little bit of love from a being, a living being that's over 4 billion years old. And you can do that with the earth too. You can lay down on the earth, and the earth is 4.6 billion years old, and connect your heartbeat with the heartbeat of the earth. And just imagine what that would feel like, the strength, the stability, the feeling of centeredness that would come into your body as you do this. So I hope that you're getting the point of what I've been trying to talk about in our time together, is we can play with the elements. We can interact with the elements in ways that we're just not doing right now. We go, oh my God, it's so sad to see what's happening to the rivers of the world. Oh, it's so sad to see what happened to this country. Oh, it's so sad to see what happened to this city. That's really how we spend our time when it comes to the elements, really challenging us in our lives through all the climactic changes that we're experiencing. But can you imagine a different picture if we lived in a way, as I've been describing to you, where we're lying on the earth and singing to the earth, and we get up in the morning and we say thank you to the sun for bringing life to me again, and thank the sun for bringing healing to you again. Healing happens with light. We're light beings, and so as we absorb the sun into our bodies, it's amazing how much healing can happen in our lives. And as we breathe the air, we connect with every single living being, because as we breathe in, we're breathing in the air that was exhaled from another being. And as we exhale, another being is going to inhale our air, so that we're all connected through the element of air. And water, we came from water. We came from the primal seas. And so earth, air, water, fire, these are elements that gave us life. These are elements that continue to give us life. And we are these elements. And so it's really important for us to change our relationship. And so what I would really encourage you to do, don't take on too much too fast. I find I get so inspired to do all these ceremonies, and the elements, I just want to say the elements are our friends in ceremonies, because Water will carry away our pain in the ceremony. Fire will carry away our pain in the ceremony. The wind will carry away our pain in the ceremony. The earth will hold our pain during a ceremony. And those elements too will also catch our greatest dreams and will help to bring them down to this great earth and manifest them so that we can all have the goodness of life, live the life that we want. And so there's so much that we can talk about of our relationship with the elements, because the elements are life. The elements are us, and the elements are life. And it's so important for us to honor the elements and feel our love, even when the wind is blowing too strong for us, even when the torrential rains are coming down, even when the fires are coming through, even through the earthquakes. Can we love the elements so that the elements can show us how much they love us, and that they can help us heal from these challenges, and that they can help us prevent and avoid these challenges from happening if we would just communicate with them. And so a practice that I would like to give to end, this is a very powerful practice that I find it changed my life when I did this practice. And I feel it's a part of shamanism that isn't always talked about, but is probably the most important part of shamanism, is that when shamans worked, number one, a lot of shamans would never leave their land, because to be so connected with the power of their land, they were able to bring through those healing energies that were needed to heal the community. And then you go to another place, you don't know the spirits there, you don't know the energy of the land, you haven't met it yet. You haven't met it yet, and you're trying to do a healing. So a lot of shamans just work from where they are, and I really understand that, because when I moved to Santa Fe, where I live now, and I journeyed to meet the spirit of Santa Fe, everything changed in my life. I was having a very challenging time here. I could not survive here. It looked like I was going to have to move. And then I journeyed to the spirit of Santa Fe, and she gave me 5 things to do to change my life. And my life did change, and I'm here 40 years, and Santa Fe is my home, and I hope I don't have to leave it. Shamans work with the spirit of the land. It's so important to work with the spirit of the land. And if any of you listening are interested in shamanism, I know this summit embraces so many different topics, but for those of you really interested in shamanism, the most important practice is to really bond with the spirit of your land. Before you can bond with the spirits, before you can do ceremonies, before you can do journeys, it's really important for the land to be your ally. And so go out where you live and take a rattle and do some rattling, take your drum and just sit. I always like to say first, may I step into your field of energy, just so that I've asked permission, and so that that we are in relationship together, that didn't make a choice that the land didn't want. And then, you just drum and you just sing a song that you really love. Something like, fire, fire, rising higher, fire, fire, transforming me. Earth, please make me a sanctuary. tried and true. So I'm just giving you some examples of how you can kind of sit on the earth and you can talk to nature a little bit. You can sing to nature. My voice at the age of 70, I've lost a lot of my voice. You heard that, but it doesn't matter. The earth doesn't care what you sound like. The sun doesn't care what you sound like. Fire doesn't care what you sound like. Water doesn't care what you sound like. The air doesn't care what you sound like. They want to hear your heart. They want to hear your heart. So let your voice crack and let your songs not be perfect, but let your heart connect to the spirit of the land where you live. And once you do that, then the land wants to protect you, and the land wants to hold you, and the land wants to bring you all the goodness that life can bring you. And as we all start to do that, the elements start to feel like they're being honored. And that change starts to go out into the universe, into the collective, and creates a collective change where all of a sudden we're feeling like we're living more in harmony with the elements instead of in a constant battle with them for our lives. We can live in constant harmony with the elements, and the elements really do love us. They really do love us. And so I hope that you will connect with the spirit of the land where you live. And you can do the same thing as talking to the land. You can talk to air, you can talk to water, you can talk to fire, you can talk to the earth. And as I talked about, you can get an expanded view by sitting out in nature and allowing your consciousness to expand out of the small places that our ego can take us, so that we can get a bigger perspective of what's going on in our own lives and what's going on in our lives of the planet. So I hope that you will find practices that help you fall in love with the elements, as I am in love with the elements too. And when we're in love with the elements are in love with us. And so I just want to wish you all many blessings, everybody. And thank you for listening. And I hope that this was meaningful to you in some way. And I send you many blessings as we go out and we all learn how to be better earth keepers for this great planet. Thank you.